Rote counting versus one-on-one correspondence. Here's what we're going to talk about. Rote versus one-on-one correspondence. That's our topic for today. Rote counting and one-on-one correspondence are different skills. They're both really good to work on, but if we ever talk to you about rote counting, we have a very specific intent. If we ever talk to you about one-on-one correspondence, we have a different intent behind that. So let's get going. Our first skill is rote counting. What is rote counting? Rote counting is just knowing the sequence and how numbers go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up as far as you can go. That is rote counting. There's nothing needed for rote counting. You don't have to use your fingers. You don't have to use objects. That's not what rote counting is. Rote counting is simply knowing how numbers fit into the sequence and being able to say those numbers out loud. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The goal for first grade is counting up to 120. Some tricky parts in there are going to be transition between tens, 29 to 30, 39 to 40, 49 to 50. Sometimes counting by tens or learning the count by 10 sequence is helpful for that because they know it goes 30, 40, 50, 60. So as you're counting 27, 28, 29, you know that you've just said 20, the next 10 is 30. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes you just have to go through that routine over and over and over again. Again, rote counting, you don't need to count anything other than know the sequence, how counting goes. A couple different things you can practice with rote counting is count as far as you can go. Have a student start and see how far they can count before they make a mistake. We're, of course, trying to make sure that they don't make a mistake, but see how far they can go independently. Another thing that you can do is shadow them. So shadowing is a skill where a student might say something, and then I say something immediately after them to confirm for them that that was the correct thing. So, for example, it's going to be a little bit hard, but my handy-dandy student here, this is a hand. My hand is going to say what the student says, and then I'm going to say it after them. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. You shadow behind them. So you're trying to give praise that they're doing the sequence correctly and reaffirm them. It's not quite the same as praising them for doing a good job, but it's giving them that information that they're counting in the correct sequence, which is awesome. If there's a stumbling point, let's say a student always skips the number 4, how I would do this is as follows. If the student is counting 1, 2, 3, before the student starts to say 5, because that's the error, I will come in between. So they'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. It might startle them a little bit, but you want to get that number in before they make the mistake. If you practice it correct, that's what we're really wanting to emphasize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nice job, 4. And then when they get that number 4 in there, give them a lot of praise. Nice job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure that you get that in there as well. The last thing that I would say is a different type of rote counting activity that you can do would be counting up from a number or counting backwards. Counting backwards, fun. You could do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Kids love that. Counting on from a given number is a little bit trickier to do, but it's a really good skill to have. So that would be, let's count on from 12. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. See if they can do it. It's just chunking up that rote counting routine and seeing if I give you a section of it, do you remember what comes next? Awesome. We're going to move on to the next part. Now that we know what rote counting is, let's talk about what is one-on-one correspondence. One-on-one correspondence means I know this is 1 pen. It's not 2, not 3. One object is one thing. If I bring another thing into this picture, I now have 2 pens. 1, 2. One-on-one correspondence is sometimes something that we assume develops, and it doesn't always develop as quickly as we think it will. And so what we do is we teach one-on-one correspondence by just counting things. We model it a lot. 1, 2. 2 pens. Nice job. 1, 2. We overemphasize the touching each thing one time and saying one number when we count one object. Sometimes the student will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they're stuck back in that rote counting script. Now I want to bring that rote counting script forward, but apply it to counting something one number for one object. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't have 6 pens here. It's 1, 2. Just model it. Model it a ton. Count the daisies outside. Count how many birds you see. Count how many... Oh, I was going to say cracks in an egg. That would be really weird to do and kind of tricky to do. You know, how many bowls are on the table? How many pens do you have? How many pens do I have now? How many pens do I have? I have tons. But practice that over and over. Just keep practicing it. And at some point, a student will start to retain that what we are talking about when we're asking you to count something is to do 1, 2, 3, to apply one number for one object. Counting toys is fun as you put them away or as you take them out. Counting how many wheels are on a car. A whole bunch of different things that you can count items. So once again, one-on-one correspondence is being able to associate one number with one object. And then when you bring a second object into the picture, associating one number with one other object. 1, 2 pens total. There are a couple different things that you can do to practice rote counting and a couple things, one-on-one correspondence. But a lot of them are just counting. Some items that you can do with one-on-one correspondence that are helpful is if you do count a group, I'm just going to pens because that's what I have a lot of on my desk, is if you count a group and you count with a student, 1, 2, 3 pens. 3, great job. Pause, and then ask, how many pens were there? And see if the student can answer 3 without having to recount. If they can, awesome. If they can't and they have to recount 1, 2, 3, that's okay. Remind them, yeah, it was 3 pens. How many pens? 3. Tell me, how many pens? Wait for them to say 3. So what we're modeling there is that anytime that I ask you what a group of objects is, you don't have to recount every single time. Some students may need to recount every time, and that's okay. But some students will learn that if I ask you how many pens are there, and they count 1, 2, 3, and they know it's 3, they don't have to recount when I ask how many pens to count the same number of objects. And that's perfectly fine. One-on-one correspondence, eventually, when you tie it into number identification, can start tying into different tasks like these. This requires both one-on-one correspondence and number identification. You need to know how to count these dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but you also need to know that that's the number 3, that's the number 7, that's the number 10. And so this task right here is a good next step. Not right now for one-on-one correspondence, but once you work on number identification skills, so being able to say that's a 3, this is a really good task to move on to. Or if you're counting the Cheerios that spilled on the table, being able to count them and then maybe write down the number 4 because 4 Cheerios spilled on the table. Those are tasks that you can pair later once number identification is solidly in place. But one-on-one identification or one-on-one correspondence, again, you're counting objects. And that's all it is, counting objects. So in summary, rote counting versus one-on-one. Rote counting, just counting out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No objects needed. One-on-one correspondence is counting actual items. Making sure you go 1, 2, 3. And that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. One-on-one versus rote, or rote versus one-on-one. The next thing that we'll probably be doing a video of is number identification, so we can start moving students and kids into doing these types of tasks. while we're at home doing distance learning. Thank you so much. Have a great day.